Greetings, dear colleagues. Thank you for finding time to join this call. We appreciate the respect of the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade for the cooperation in arranging this event. For the support provided to this project, it is our honor to present the findings of the project. We started off early this year, and today in July, we are ready to share our findings, discuss them with you, and move forward if there is a wish to jointly achieve on specific initiatives. I will be both the moderator and the speaker today. I would like to let you know that a simultaneous interpretation is available. You need to switch to the Russian channel. Some of my colleagues will be speaking English. You will be hearing them in Russian. Our event will take about 90 minutes. 1 hour and a little will be taken by the presentation. Then we will have an opportunity to discuss the findings, solicit your feedback. So please, I urge you to be active and share your positions. It is an expert meeting. You are not speaking on behalf of your agency. You speak as professionals, subject matter experts. So some of the things you might comment, please comment on them to improve our report. Thank you so much. So without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to my supervisor, Jan Duval. He is the head of PPFS in the Commission for Asia and Pacific. Mr. Duval, the floor is yours.
Jan, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear, and I heard the translation. TPFS stands for the Trade Policy and Facilitation section, just in case. So I'm delighted to welcome all of you to this consultation. I'd like to express our deep appreciation for your attention to the issue of developing cross-border paperless trade in Tajikistan and the Central Asia region as a whole. This consultation and this work, may best be seen in the wider context of digital transformation that is ongoing in almost all the countries and regions across the globe. ESCAP welcomes the active participation of Tajikistan since its accession to the Framework Agreement on Facilitation of Cross-Border Paperless Trade in Asia and the Pacific in December 2022, including in terms of sharing the second session of the Standing Committee of the agreement in June 2023. So I'm confident that continued and increased involvement in the activities of the treaty can help boost Tajikistan's competitiveness and enhance its paperless trade connectivity with partner economies in Central Asia and beyond. The feasibility study we will present confirm the relevance of Tajikistan's participation in the Framework Agreement. It aims to examine various options for implementing electronic information and document exchange between Tajikistan and its trading partners, and to identify feasible pathways. The results can support important policy decisions and provide a basis for securing funds for actual and progressive implementation of cross-border paperless trade. So a key result of the study is the examination and identification of a possible project, and that project would be the electronic exchange of certificates of origin with Kazakhstan. This project has the potential to significantly reduce financial and time costs, simplify trade procedures, and increase the transparency of operations. Ultimately, the implementation of this type of project will contribute to strengthening economic ties between Central Asian countries and enhancing Tajikistan's competitiveness on the international stage. With Tajikistan already party to the framework agreement and also actually chairing SPECA, I understand this year, right? And Kazakhstan hopefully joining the treaty soon, implementation of projects with high impact potential may be accelerated and expanded to other parties across Central Asia and the wider Asia-Pacific region. Thank you very much for your attention, and I really wish you a fruitful meeting today in the presentation of the study results. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jan, for setting the ground for our national consultations. We are eager already to get more information about the result of the study. I also like to pass the floor to Jan Fai, the manager of the project.
Hello, hi. Thanks, Alexei. So my name is Yunfei Li, so working at Yan's team. I just wanted to say a few words about this overall project. So on ESCAP side, we have been conducting this series of feasibility studies in Central Asia on electronic exchange over the course of this year. And during these few weeks, we are having national meetings, such as the one today, to present and discuss the findings and getting feedback from national stakeholders, such as yourselves. And of course, a key part is the proposing of certain projects, certain documents for exchange between possible partner countries. So at these national meetings and following them, we hope to get your feedback to further refine the studies and to plan for next steps. So this may include a sub-regional meeting down the road later this year, perhaps, further discussions among the Central Asian countries on how we can take the findings of these studies to the next step, to the practical stage, potentially to implementation, to pilot projects. So really looking forward to the rest of the session and wanting to hear more from everyone, your thoughts on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Янфай. Дильшот, скажите, пожалуйста, вы хотели бы...
Dilshot, would you like to also share some welcoming remarks on the part of the ministry? Why not, Alexei? So the floor is yours. I will speak Russian.
Ян Duval, Йонфей, прежде
Jan Duval, Yornfei. First of all, I would like to express appreciation to ESCAP for the standing support and close cooperation with the Republic of Tajikistan and Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. As for the framework agreement on paperless trade, with the support of ESCAP, we have become the full-fledged members of CPTA, and with your support, we have prepared the preparedness assessment. Rustam Abdusalamov, our distinguished colleague, he supported the development of this document, and we have learned a lot during the development and drafting of this document on the benefits that Tajikistan may enjoy from the full-scale implementation of this agreement. And we are ready for close cooperation with you. Thank you, Alexei, for the job well done on the development of the feasibility study to implement the cross-border digital exchange of documents. Tajikistan is doing a lot already. It is my pleasure to name Faruk Saliyev. I can call him my brother, our mentor, our teacher, and he used to be our supervisor. We have learned a lot from him. He taught us a lot. Now he works at the Innovation Agency, and he is the curator for electronic trade. So I'm sure he will have a lot to say on our follow-up steps and the way we should structure our work further. From my side, I would like to know that Tajikistan has been doing a lot on implementing the principles of digitalization across sectors of our life, including trade, innovation, government, business processes of the state. As for electronic trade, we already enjoy some achievements within our concept on digitalization in the country. Many efforts have been taken, and in 2023, I must note, the businesses of Tajikistan have exported for over 30 million US dollars to China via actually electronic trade, which shows already our achievements. And our colleagues from the Innovation Agency have signed a memorandum on cooperating with China on paperless trade. So as you can see, we are progressing. We need to enhance our efforts, and we would like to thank you and ESCAP for the standing support and assistance. We will work with Kazakhstan on developing this paperless exchange that will definitely promote the development of trade between our countries. Kazakhstan is one of our major trade partners, and this will only benefit our cooperation. Within the framework of our preparedness assessment, we have looked into the interaction based on single window principle among our countries, how it could be arranged for the countries to efficiently engage, exchange, permit documents. Let's see. There are many steps to take, a lot of work to do, many opportunities, and we are thankful to you for the support in this respect. Monsieur Duval, Jan Fei, thank you for the support to our initiatives. And I wish everybody fruitful work. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dilshad. We haven't yet presented the findings, but I know that you have read the report and the presentation, so you know. And I'm sure we will have a chance to discuss that at the end of this event, and we will hear the feedback.
Okay, so I think I can start the presentation. Скажите, видно ли мой экран?
So I hope my screen is visible.
Хорошо видно, да?
So everything is great, okay.
Коллеги, как уже мои
Dear colleagues, as
старшие коллеги сказали,
my senior colleagues have already noted, ESCAP is supporting the original countries in their participation in paperless trade. The agreement, so Tajikistan, Turkmenistan have already entered the agreement. Kazakhstan has already announced joining CPTA, and the work on ratification has begun. Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Iran, Russian Federation, China are parties to this agreement. Therefore, it is a framework for the region to, first of all, negotiate. Our goal to make it not only a negotiation platform and a mechanism for mutual recognition of electronic documents. We want to make it as practicable as possible. Therefore, to this end, early this year, ESCAP defined the priority areas for the practical implementation of cross-border paperless trade. So within those priorities, we have selected the Central Asian countries. The idea was to conduct feasibility study, define the pilot areas where we could deploy the project, and identify the projects with good upscaling potential to ensure cross-border interaction between two countries, understanding then that we can scale it up to other countries. So the study covered 4 countries. I worked as an international consultant, worked with national consultant from every country. That would be Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. In Tajikistan, Tajikistan, we worked closely with the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade and Mr. Rustam Abdusalomov, who was our national consultant. My presentation will consist of three parts. First, I will tell you about the feasibility study and what it includes. Then we will talk about the findings we achieved in Tajikistan. And the third section will be dedicated to the recommendations based on what we identified during the study. And then, of course, I would really appreciate your feedback. Why this topic is so important for us? The thing is that the agreement that Tajikistan has acceded has Article 13 that says that pilot projects shall be implemented and experience exchange should be established. We are assessing all projects in ESCAP region, including Central Asia, but we would also like to support the countries of the regions, showing them the further areas for pilot project development and implementation, because we know that regionally a lot of work is being done and there are many donors in the region that support those projects. So it could be a win-win story for many stakeholders, first of all, for the countries. So how we were going to do that? Via the feasibility study. It is a document that is a first step in a project implementation, because before you start doing anything, you must understand what kind of deliverables the project may bring. Therefore, the initial goal of this report was to show the direction of implementation and demonstrate to all of the participants the benefits they could enjoy. First of all, the economic benefits. So this is the economic feasibility. As soon as you look at the reports, you will see tables of estimates, costs, and benefits that the project might bring. And you, as the decision makers, can decide whether such project should be further promoted or vice versa. The feasibility study might show a negative possible result, no ROI on the project. This is the first step for your initial decision making on the project, whether it's go or no go. The feasibility study raises the probability of successful project performance, as all possible risks and nuances have been described. And that helps the decision makers to take a reasonable and justified approach. Talking about original project, the presentation of findings took place last week in Kazakhstan, this week in Tajikistan, and then in further engagement with your colleagues and reading this report might raise the interest of the stakeholders, both internationally and nationally, because if we talk about the national level, the justification, the rationale for the project is really important for national project participants. So what are the aspects of this feasibility study? As I have noted, we define the areas for project implementation of paperless exchange. We define the priority countries. We describe the to-be model, or the way it should be. And we describe the path from as is to be. We also look at the costs that may be incurred with the project and the benefits that the project will bring. The methodology of the feasibility study stipulated information collection at the initial stage. We began the project in January. For 2.5 months, we've been collecting information, conducting interviews, reviewing the available reports, including the preparedness report on Tajikistan for paperless trade. We have made our conclusions and prepare the report that we are presenting and sending to you. Within this feasibility study, we have analyzed the scope of trade activity of your partners, your key partners. We have looked at the dynamic of regional integration and the discussion platforms. We have looked at the digital infrastructure that actually shows the preparedness of a certain country in terms of the technical aspect. And we looked intently at the legal framework that is important both horizontally across sectors and in specific documents. We looked at the certificate of origin legal framework. So how we worked? As I've noted, we conducted interviews. Thank you, Rustam, for reaching out to the respondents, to the public and private bodies about the possible bottlenecks in the business processes. We have described the business processes in detail as they are today, and we looked at this possible streamlining opportunities, and we worked on that with both business and government. ESCAP owns the methodology. We have conducted similar studies in other countries, so we already had certain templates. We conducted surveys for public bodies, first of all, customs, and of course the National Council for Trade Facilitation. Our methodology consists of 7 steps that are presented now on the screen. Let me present them in detail. In the first step, we look at the trade documentation of the partner country. We will present it by the example of Tajikistan, and as a result, we select 1 or 2 cases for further piloting and further feasibility study. So initial stage actually defines the areas that are relevant for implementation. At step 2, we look intently at the priority area that we have identified. In Tajikistan, that would be certificates of origin. We look at the legal framework, we look at the technical infrastructure, and as a result of that step, we see the details of the current business processes as is. At step 3, we are looking at the approaches to streamlining such processes. We are building a to-be model. Based on that, we look at how the system should be, how information sharing and interoperability and security and interface should look. Step 4 is the cornerstone of this study, is the most important. It tells us whether such projects should be implemented, because we can build a to-be model that can turn out to be unattainable or too costly. Therefore, there is always a temptation to introduce something state-of-the-art and super perfect, but our budget always has certain constraints. Therefore, we have proposed our to-be model and evaluated it. Based on that evaluation, we decided that this model implementation can be cost-efficient for the country. This has been a complex task because cost and benefit analysis is always difficult economically. Therefore, under step 4, we obtained understanding, comprehension of possible deliverables of this project and how cost-efficient it is. Step 5 is actually operational feasibility and participants' engagement. We define the leading body, who will be the change team, who will be the members, and based on that, we are thinking about the capacity enhancement for the team to be able to implement this project, because any innovation, any new technology, I've seen that in Central Asia, initially they're always causing concerns on the part of stakeholders who are to work with those systems, which requires capacity building and training for the public servants. Therefore, it is an important stage. So this operational feasibility on how to engage the stakeholders, on how to ensure the implementation. The next step is implementation planning. You will see in the report the relevant section that is dedicated to the implementation plan. We have selected the actions and collated them in this plan. For the project to work, it's divided into 6 steps: preparation, design and development, piloting, monitoring and assessment, scaling, and documents and reports. Within this step, our result is the project implementation plan. At step 7, we talk about the development and regional integration. We are talking about an international project here, and therefore it concerns the interests of other parties. Therefore, we are to establish a dialogue platform or identify an existing one. So we've been checking what platforms are available, both regionally and bilaterally, and how they can be leveraged. We talk about the available agreements based on which we could develop this project. At the next step, let me go back here. At this step, we talk about the possible donors that could be involved in the project. We identified the donors in the region who could be the sources of financing, and we gave specific recommendation. So these are the 7 steps. I talked to you about the methodology, and now I will dwell on those steps based on the example of Tajikistan. So we have listed over 20 documents that are supporting the cargo flow for foreign traders, and we ranked them using 3 criteria. That would be automation level, frequency of use, how many documents are accepted by the other party, and the extent of integration with the single window system. We ranked the documents, putting scores, and as you can see, in the case of Tajikistan, the first ranked document is certificate of origin. And other pilot areas in this ranking is conformity certificate, phytosanitary certificate, goods declaration, and so on. Within this step, the certificate of origin is the priority for our project. At the next step, we have looked into the statistics to select which country should be the first one to implement this project with. We have weighed the Central Asian countries and others. The following criteria we used is the trade potential, the current trade, logistics and infrastructure, connectivity of the region, regulatory environment, are there any agreements, and so on, and the preparedness of IT systems on both sides. The top 3 on the list, as you can see, are Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan. Kazakhstan ranked first based on those criteria. Therefore, eventually, we are working on certificate of origin with Kazakhstan because it is the preferable country for the pilot project, as you can see. You will see the report we dedicate our study to the exchange of electronic certificate of origin between Tajikistan and Kazakhstan. At step 2, we are looking at the legal framework, as I have noted. We have looked in all of the laws, regulations, and international agreements. First of all, CIS agreements about certification according to ST1 form that gives preferentials in the trade with Kazakhstan. So our conclusion was that Tajikistan already has legal framework for e-certificates of origin. The legislation has the provision according to which the certificate can be issued in electronic form and can be recognized if it is issued electronically. Meanwhile, within the information sharing, certificate of origins are not exchanged, and the legal framework for electronic exchange of certificates of origin is not yet in place. We determined the project goals and participants on both the sides. In Tajikistan, that will be, first of all, the Chamber of Commerce that actually issues the certificates, the customs service that conducts supervision and issues preferentials if the goods are Kazakhstani, the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade that is the facilitation agent, the innovation agency who is engaged in digitalization, and of course the single window center that allows for national level exchange of information about the issue of electronic certificates of origin. And we have the list of bodies that need to be engaged on the part of Kazakhstan. Our conclusion was that the information sharing and the exchange of certificates of origin is possible. It can be implemented based on the model of single window, but that would require additional exploration, engaging international specialists and organizations that work on the digitalization of certificates and support the provision of equipment and technology that are required. And we should work on that with our stakeholders in Tajikistani government. We have looked very intently into the business processes. We, let's say, scrutinized them and pictured them in diagrams. They are not perfectly visible here, but the report will have a better picture. We analyzed the as-is process of obtaining the certificate of origin in Tajikistan and transferring it to Kazakhstan, as well as obtaining a certificate in Kazakhstan and transferring to Tajikistan. This process is based on the scheme where the exporter sends an application via the single window and receives and provides everything electronically. However, the results they get is paper. When they receive this paper document, they must transfer it somehow. Usually it's via the driver. Then the carrier provides this document, produces it at the border. Then the importer presents it during the clearance. So this is the precedent diagram. It shows mainly the participants and the processes via which they are engaging. And the next is action diagram. It pictures the entire process. The red shows the areas where we see losses of time for transferring, using, or verifying paper documents. These are the most time-consuming areas, which is, in its turn, a downtime that is an economic cost. We focused on those areas and suggested a model to streamline such time costs, time losses related to issuing the paper document, transferring to the driver, and then the border crossing processes in Kazakhstan. All documents are scanned at the border. So it's a supporting document, certificate is scanned at the border, and that takes time. And of course, the verification process is harder when it is paper. Much easier to send an electronic request and immediately receive a confirmation that the certificate has been issued. The as-is diagram shows that the issue of certificate in Kazakhstan and transferring to Tajikistan, probably it's not too relevant for you. However, there is an area where the customs service of Tajikistan verifies the paper certificate of origin. We see that this process can be streamlined via a transition into electronic exchange. The bottlenecks we identified show that today the issuance, we see the issuance of paper-based certificates, transfer is also paper-based, exchange is paper-based. So practically we can save almost 2 hours with an electronic certificates. And basically those are the costs incurred by both business and public bodies to issue the paper, to verify the paper. Therefore, scanning takes time, verification, authentication. It's a complex mechanism to authenticate a document. You need to check a stamp, the customs services are exchanging this information. You need to know very well the signature that is used there. If it's an experienced inspector, they know the signatures and they can easily verify. But if they are inexperienced, that takes additional time. There are also risks related to the damage to the document. It's a paper, so it can be lost. So the streamlining proposals via the to-be model. Our to-be model is very simple here. It provides for integration and interaction between the single window systems. Our logic is as follows. Nationally, in Tajikistan, an exporter works with the Chamber of Commerce and Customs Service via the single window. The single window is coordinated by the Customs Service. The same is true in Kazakhstan. They have a single window. It is hosted by the Customs Service that receives information from the National Chamber of Commerce at American on the certificates issued. So nationally, we have the database of the certificates of origin issued. We only need to establish interoperability and the protocol of information exchange, the request and response that enables the interested parties in the countries. If we look at export from Tajikistan to Kazakhstan, we are talking about a cargo that arrives in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstani customs may send via their national system of single window a request to the national single window of Tajikistan about the certificate issued. If it's ever been issued, the response will show the data of issuance and authenticity. It's a request response scheme that can work really well. Across the border, we see data exchange rather than electronic document exchange. It's just data from the databases. And since it's interaction between two customs services via single window, this information sharing protocol is protected. Two customs can trust the information they receive from each other and recognize the data they received via this intergovernmental interaction. This is a higher level to be model.
рекомендательной, мы можем с вами обсудить, насколько
Of course, it's
данная
a recommendation. We can discuss how this scheme is applicable. We would really appreciate your ideas on this.
Также, помимо вот этой верхнеуровневой схемы,
Apart
мы
from this
внимательно в отчете
high-level
прорисовали
scheme,
весь
we
бизнес-процесс,
have
как должно
exemplified,
быть.
we have
Также
illustrated the
есть две
entire business
диаграммы
process to
прецедентов,
be,
которые говорят об участниках
and
информационного
precedent
взаимодействия и тех
diagram
действиях,
about
которые
the
они совершают.
participants
В отчете
of the
более
information
наглядно
sharing
это
and their
будет видно.
actions. You will see
И
that in the
в
report
целом вы видите, что,
more
возможно,
vividly.
и не сократилось
Generally, you can
количество
see
действий,
that the number
но
of
внутри
actions
бизнес-процесс
probably has
очень
not
сильно
reduced,
поменялся.
but the
Здесь вот
business
вы
process
увидите в
has
отчете
changed a
весь
lot
оптимизированный
inside.
бизнес-процесс, как должно
In
быть.
this report,
И
you
вы
can
увидите,
see the
что по
to-be
результатам
business process,
по
and based
результатам
on
оформления
the
сертификата о
results
происхождении
of
не
issuing
выдается
the
бумажный
certificate of
документ,
origin,
а
it's not a
выдается
paper
только
document that is
информация.
issued. It's only the
Экспортер
information
получает эту
that is
информацию,
received by the
дата выдачи
exporter.
сертификата,
It is the
данные
date of
какие-то об этом
issuance,
сертификате. И
certain
эта
data
информация
about
может
the
передать
certificate, and this
своему
information can
контрагенту,
be
импортеру,
provided to their
поставщику.
account
А
agent,
дальше, после того,
counterpart,
как происходит весь процесс, и
and
импортер в
importer in
Казахстане подает
Kazakhstan. So an importer in Kazakhstan
таможенную декларацию, в
applies
таможенной декларации указывается сведения об
customs
сертификате
declaration
происхождения.
showing
В
the
рамках
information
таможенной
about this
очистки таможенная
certificate of
служба
origin,
Казахстана
and
направляет
within the
запрос
process of
на
customs clearance, the
проведение
customs servers of Kazakhstan sends a
запрос на
request
получение данных о сертификате о
for
происхождении. На
data
стороне таможенной
about
службы
this
Таджикистана этот
certificate,
запрос
and
обрабатывается
the
и
customs service
выдается
of
ответный
Tajikistan
запрос.
processes this
Все
request and
это
gives a
происходит практически
response.
мгновенно, так как
Takes
эти
place
системы
almost instantaneously because
интегрированы
those systems
и
are interfaced.
это можно сделать довольно быстро.
It can be done quite quickly.
Этот запрос, он даже может быть отправлен в
This
автоматическом
request
режиме в
can be
рамках
sent even
проверки таможенной декларации.
automatically
И
within the
дальше,
process of
после
verification of
получения
the customs
ответа на
declaration.
запрос, если сертификат действует,
After
то,
the
соответственно,
reply is
принимается
received,
решение
if
выпуски товара,
the
то есть
certificate is
продление
valid,
преференции, и
the goods
импортер
are
может
released, the
сделать
preferentials are
после
provided,
выпуска.
and the
Вот
importer
такая
can
процедура, как вы видите,
take the
здесь
goods.
происходит
This
передача
procedure
данных о выданном сертификате, а не
is
электронный
just
документ.
sharing
На этапе
information, data
получения
about the
сертификата
certificate, not
происхождения и
just
на
providing
этапе
certificate
запроса
at the point
ответа
of issuance
в
and
рамках
at the point
взаимодействия
of
таможенной службы.
request response engagement between the customs.
Соответственно, выдача и обмен электронными
The
сертификатами
issuance and
оптимизирует весь
exchange of
процесс,
electronic
сокращает время
certificates
оформления,
streamlines the process,
уже нет
saving
необходимости
time, no need to
распечатывать этот документ,
print
ставить
the
на нем
document,
печать, подпись.
stamp
Также
it,
у бизнеса нет
sign it.
необходимости лично
Businesses do
забирать
not
этот
have to
документ, стоять в
be
очередях,
personally
подписывать
taking
эти
this document, standing
права и
in a
так далее.
queue, planning their
Участник
visit to the
импортирующий товар
relevant
получает
authority,
подтверждение сведений о происхождении в самом начале
and the
процесса, то есть
importer
нет
receives the
необходимости
certificate of
ждать все
origin early
комплекты
in the
документов, ему
process.
эта информация
They don't
будет
have to wait
заранее
for the
ясна.
entire set of documents
Процесс
because they will have
подтверждения
the document in
сведений об этом
advance.
сертификате становится
The
прозрачным,
verification of the
нет
certificate
риска
becomes
подделки
transparent,
документов,
no
также
forging
нет
risk,
необходимости его сканировать при прибытии
no
на
need to
территорию
scan
Казахстана, что также
when it arrives in
сокращает время на
Kazakhstan,
совершение
which
операций
saves
и минимизируется
additional
риски совершения
time,
ошибок со стороны государственных органов при
minimizing
оформлении
errors on the part
сертификата о
of
происхождении.
public
Ну и
authorities
дополнительно,
in
может быть, тут стоит отметить,
issuing the
что
certificate of origin.
такой
Additionally,
информационный обмен
such information
позволяет таможенной
exchange
службе
allows
также потом готовить
the
отчеты
customs
и национальным
to
палатам,
further prepare or
принимать,
reports
готовить отчет,
to the
насколько
chambers of
все
commerce,
выданные сертификаты были
reports
востребованы в той стране,
on
для которой они
the
выдавались.
demand
Тоже
for
такое
the
интересное
certificates in the relevant
преимущество
countries. This
информационного обмена,
is
которое
an interesting benefit of
стоит
this
отметить.
information exchange.
Следующий шаг, это вот то, что я рассказывал,
The
было
next step,
сложно,
as
мы
I said, it was complex.
постарались ужать
We
до
did our best
одного-двух
to
слайдов. Это так называемый
compress it
цифры.
into 2 slides. our numbers. We have a big annex to the report showing all of the costs. We broke them down into upfront investment to launch the project and operation costs, annual operation costs to maintain the functionality of the system and its development. As you can see, for Tajikistan, all costs are about $140,000. We further looked at the economic benefits due to the streamlining of the process. We have looked at the potential benefits for both public and private sector, and this table shows that the economic benefit of the project for the first year of implementation is about $80,000, and it is purely the benefit for the public sector. If you look at the report, the benefits will be multiplying because there are benefits for the businesses. If we only focus on the benefits for the public sector, the payback period for this project will be about 2 years. But if you add the businesses, the payback period will be less than 1 year. If we look at the horizon of 5 years, the project will show an ROI of 180%. So it's basically doubling the benefits compared to upfront costs. Implementation of electronic certificates of origin is economically feasible for Tajikistan in the context of trading with Kazakhstan. Here you can see the summarized costs for 2 countries, $314,000, including the upfront investment and operation costs. Based on our estimates, we conclude that the implementation of electronic certificates for the overall case is economically feasible. The next step is operational feasibility and participants' engagement. Here we can actually discuss, because the leading agency we propose here to lead this project is the Customs Service and the government of Tajikistan, engaging the Chamber of Commerce, the Ministry of Economic Development, Innovation Agency, Export Agency, Single Window, which is again the Customs Service. Why this model? First, the project aims at cross-border information sharing. Within this project, and the goal is to provide preferentials. We provide electronic data to the Customs Service to verify and provide preferentials. Therefore, the very message that it is the customs, the oversight body, is not the issuance body. It makes the Customs Service, let's say, major participant in terms of information exchange between Tajikistan and Kazakhstan. We looked intently at the experience in other countries. Customs, in most cases, are the major leading authorities in similar projects, including the projects in CIS countries. We looked at Azerbaijan and Russian Federation, and their customs established information exchange, exchange of certificates, so the traders are not providing paper certificates in this mutual trade. We know that Russia already agreed with Tajikistan on the information sharing. on certificates of origin. As far as
As
I know, the preparation works are being finalized now. Probably the customs of Tajikistan can comment. Tajikistan and Russian Federation is implementing this information exchange. And it is done via the integration between customs services. The next piece of rationale is that the issuance of electronic certificates doesn't mean it is automatically recognized by a different country. Because mutual recognition mechanism has not been developed yet. Therefore, if a trader provides an electronic document they obtained in Tajikistan, the customs of Kazakhstan may not recognize this document because it's not conforming the electronic document rules that are enforced in Kazakhstan. And it cannot because the cryptography rules and the rest is different from what Tajikistan uses. Therefore, we need a trusted channel between two services who could sign the technical specifications of this information sharing and write down that whatever data is received via this secure channel will be recognized. So these three conditions that I have described make the customs service the leading agency to be engaged. Again, to implement the project, we need to establish an interagency expert group, including the representatives joining this call, and they will need to follow up this project, develop a module within the single window mechanism to receive requests from Kazakhstan and send responses. Therefore, we will need to finalize the existing information system, establish the interaction between the single windows, and agree with Kazakhstan that at a certain point you start the bilateral electronic exchange of the certificates of origin. In our report, there is an action plan with 25 activities broken down by stages. We focused on legal framework, development, potential agreements, changes to instructions for this project to work. We also defined implementing agencies. After the design and development, after you study this feasibility document, after you discuss it with partners and donors, we will need to develop a detailed terms of reference for this system, and this feasibility study that we are presenting today is the first step to terms of reference because it describes the system functionality partially, but of course that will need to be put into more details and then concurred with the country. Such interaction with Kazakhstani customs is only the first step. We can make conclusions on the project and may decide that we can do that with Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, other partners that Tajikistan interacts with in the region. Again, we are talking about the CIS space because this is the space where ST1 certificates are in force. In the implementation, we are looking at various options. First of all, this can be done autonomously, independently. We need to discuss your initiatives with partners, establish a discussion platform with Kazakhstan, bilateral platform, intergovernmental commission. And there are regional meetings of the national committees on trade facilitation that we think should be used to implement this project.
Также в этом разделе отчета мы говорим о том, что есть
In
различные
this part
доноры
of
в
the report, we
регионе.
talk
Тут,
about the donors in the
конечно,
region, but
в первую
here
очередь
again,
упомянул
I would
Международный
like
торговый
to
центр
note the
ITC,
International Trade Center,
так как
ATC,
они уже приступили на первом этапе, на первой фазе проекта Ready for Trade Central Asia, они уже
because
приступили
they
к изучению
already
данной области,
began
проводили
within
мероприятия,
Ready
проводили
for Trade in Central Asia
такие
certain
верхнеуровневые исследования, совещания с
actions. They
вами.
conducted
Таджикистан активно
high-level
участвовал. И
surveys,
сейчас
conducted
есть информация
meetings
о
with
том,
you.
что
Tajikistan
у
actively
Международного торгового центра
participated.
будет вторая
ATC, as
фаза
we know,
проекта.
will hold the
Неформальные
next phase of
обсуждения
the
мы
project.
уже
In
заинтересованы
informal
в том, чтобы
discussions, we have
поддержать
shown
реализацию.
our
Конечно, они
interest in
ждут
supporting them.
результатов исследований.
They
Я
are
думаю, что
anticipating the
имеет
findings
смысл представить
of our
результаты
study.
исследования для доноров,
And I think it
показать им
makes sense to
и
present the findings to the
при
donors.
наличии поддержки с их
And in
стороны
case
мы видим,
they
что проект
show readiness to support,
будет успешно реализован.
we
В
suggest
целом,
that the project will be
как я уже сказал, мы
successfully
провели
implemented.
4 таких исследования, мы уже
We
представили
conducted
результаты
already
их
4
моделирования.
feasibility week.
Конечно, мы
In general,
сформировали вот такие общие рекомендации
we
по реализации
some
проекта.
general recommendations for project
Ключевым для
implementation.
нас является то, что в странах есть национальный механизм
What's
единого
most
окна.
important is that the
В
countries have the
Таджикистане
single
эта
window
система давно
mechanisms.
работает, и
Tajikistan has
это
had this
является
system
хорошей
for quite a
основой.
while. This
Процесс
is a good foundation
автоматизирован с
for
точки зрения подачи заявок
this
и
project.
получения
The process is
результатов.
automated in
Документы
terms of
формально
application and
хранить не могут,
results.
так как требуется это в
As of now,
Казахстане,
it
но
is
тем не менее с
a
точки
paper
зрения технической
result.
готовности уже множество сделано.
However,
При
technically,
этом
we
мы видим,
see good
что
readiness.
встает всегда вопрос с интероперабельностью. То
But there
есть
is always a question of
реализация этих систем,
interoperability. The
она
implementation
должна
of such
учитывать
systems
международные модели
must
данных,
take into account the international
которые
data
имеются на
models
сегодняшний день. Мы
that
в первую
are
очередь говорим о
available
данных,
today. I'm
которые
talking about the
есть
data
у
model
CPTA,
that
и
is
нужно
owned by
очень внимательно
CPACT.
прописывать
CPACT.
технических заданий, требований,
So we need to be very careful at the level of the terms of reference
элементы данных, форматы,
so that the data elements,
документов, они
formats, and
были
structures of
построены
electronic
в модели
documents
данных
were
CFACT-ON, что позволит потом
built
обеспечивать
on
совместимость
the
международных
CFACT
стандартов. Потому
model
что если
to
мы
be
один проект
compatible
с
with international
Казахстаном делаем
standards. Because
с
if we
использованием одной
do a
модели
project
данных, в
with
Казахстане
Kazakhstan based on
реализует
one
этот
data
проект
model,
с использованием
while
другой модели данных,
Kazakhstan
уже сейчас
and
даже в рамках
Tajikistan
двустороннего
does a
взаимодействия
different model,
будут проблемы.
even at the level of bilateral
Гораздо больше
cooperation,
проблем,
there will be
когда вы
issues.
захотите масштабировать
More
проект,
challenges will
потому что
come
ваши
when you
партнеры
want
в
to
других странах, они
scale this
также
project
используют
because the partners in other
сертификаты
countries already
происхождения,
use
они будут иметь
certificates of
определенные в
origins.
других моделях данных,
They
и
will be
сразу становится вопрос, а как мы будем
formatted
обмениваться
under
этими
different data
данными,
models,
если
and the
у нас
question will be how
нет
we're going to share
совместимости
this
между
data if we don't have
элементами данных.
compatibility.
Опять-таки, реализовать запрос-ответную систему без
This
совместимости данных
request-response
невозможно.
system without data
Это
compatibility is
является
impossible.
проблемой.
Therefore, this is the
Следующее
cornerstone.
законодательная нормативно-правовая база для реализации
Next, the
проектов. Мы по
legal
большому
and
счету
regulatory
в
framework. We
отчете
focused on that
планы
in our
мероприятий,
report
указали, какие
and
должны
action
быть
plan.
акты
We
приняты.
showed
Здесь
relevant
главное, необходимо отметить
regulations
использование
to be
механизма взаимного
adopted.
признания
First of all, the
электронных
mutual
документов.
recognition mechanism for
И
electronic documents.
участие Таджикистана в
Participation
соглашении
of Tajikistan
по
in this
трансграничной
framework
торговле
agreement
делает
for
как раз-таки
paperless trade
возможным обсуждать эту
actually
тему с
makes it
другими
possible to discuss
участниками
this topic.
соглашения. Эта тема сложная.
Other
До сих пор
agreement
страны не определились, какой механизм
parties,
взаимного признания будет использован.
the
И
countries have
я
not
думаю,
yet
что в
agreed upon
Таджикистане
the recognition
на
mechanism.
национальном уровне
I'm
еще
sure that
также
in
не было
Tajikistan at the
принято
national
решение.
level, no decision has been taken on
Поэтому
that.
эти
So
решения, они являются
such
важными.
decisions
Например,
are
выявили
important.
такую проблему. Мы
For
в
instance,
Узбекистане
we
рекомендуем
identified the
реализовать
following challenge.
систему
In
электронных
Uzbekistan, we
фитосанитарных
recommended
сертификатов.
introducing a
Проблема в
system of
следующем, что даже если
phytosanitary
вы
certificates, and the
используете
problem is as follows. Even if you use
электронный хаб,
an
который
electronic
имеется у
hub
ООН, он называется IPPC
available
хаб,
in
даже
UN
если вы
IPCC hub,
осуществляете обмен
even
через этот
if you
электронный хаб,
exchange
то это
via
не
this electronic
обеспечивает
hub, it does not ensure the recognition of this document in a different country, and the other country still requires paper documents. This is an example of the challenges related to the lack of mutual recognition mechanism. Therefore, the process is implemented two times. First, electronic engagement, you see the data, but you do not trust this data and you request the foreign trader to present papers. Therefore, all investments done in the project are not bringing the expected return because the process on paper is still in place. The next is the phased implementation and cooperation. In practical projects, we must move forward, well, not slowly, but very scrupulously, making small steps that we check every time. Under the study, we define the pilot area, and in this pilot area, we narrow down to a specific country. If we're successful in arranging interaction with Kazakhstan, that will be a big success. And then a decision when upscaling is required based on this experience. Rather than, let's say, tackling a project on CIS, Certificate of Origin Exchange. Bilateral exchange implementation is much easier initially rather than a big regional project. So we can see that this is the direction we should move along. And you have a great platform in the region to discuss integration. If we talk about integrating two single windows and interaction between them based on a specific document, then single window, there are other documents that could be added to this exchange. Therefore, you need to exchange your progress, your results within the region and negotiate on the way you could leverage that. If Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan implement phytosanitary certificate exchange, thanks to the studies we've conducted, we can further look into possible usage of these results in Tajikistan. Capacity building and awareness raising is important. Constant trainings for the system operators, the traders, they may also be unaware on how this is used. They might be reluctant or unaware of how paperless trade is conducted. Therefore, in the action plan within this report, we emphasize the trainings to be conducted. Last but not least, I would like to describe the risks we identified. First of all, lack of motivation or interest on the part of the public bodies and agencies to be engaged in the project. Then the risks related to the long period of document preparation that actually creates this delays in the process, forging risks, damage and loss risks, and decreasing in the competitive ability of the country in case it does not catch up with the international standards and it may lose its trade partners. Therefore, in this report, we have looked at the risks and prepared a proposal to mitigate the risks. That would be training, that would be infrastructure investment, international and interagency cooperation, and change management. In the report, we have shown the role of the change management team. This team has already been convened in Tajikistan at the Agency of Innovation and Digital Development. If the project is approved politically, we could actually rely on the potential of this team, engaging additional experts from the interested bodies so that this team could be coordinating the implementation of this project. This is it from me. Today, I will ask to send this report to your emails. We did that on purpose to use this opportunity to present the findings, how it can be used, so that further, with this understanding, you could dive into the project details. So I would like to request your feedback now and talk about the ways we could solicit and collect this feedback in the written form. After you receive the report, you will have time for your response and your comments. And further, we could finalize the report and prepare it for publication. Dilshot, we have an idea to publish series of country-level publications for Tajikistan. That would be the findings that I have shown. That will be of use for you. You can refer to them when building the case inside the country for the decision makers and some regional platforms, international platforms, when you discuss it with donors. Therefore, there will be a publication. I don't see much of the sensitive information that cannot be disclosed because basically we're working with the open sources, legal framework, and so on. But if there is anything that Tajikistan would like to omit from the report, let us know. So we will receive your feedback, we will finalize the report and prepare this publication for printing. Thank you so much for your attention. And now the floor is yours for your feedback, for your ideas about what you have heard.
Добрый день, коллеги.
Greetings, dear colleagues.
Единое окно таможенной службы Таджикистана.
Single window custom service of Tajikistan. Greetings. We would like to thank the organizers for this event.
Уважаемый Алексей,
Distinguished Alexei,
видел презентацию, видно, что
I have seen your presentation. I can see that you have done a great job. Thank you, Rustam.
одну корректировочку в вашем
There is one
31
correction to your slide 31, the diagram that you have prepared on the exchange of information between Tajikistan and Kazakhstan.
Как вы в курсе, да, уже Россия и
You probably know that Russia, Tajikistan, their custom services signed an agreement and the technical specifications for the exchange. So the situation is as follows. Look, the customs service of Russia sends, apologies, the single window of Tajikistan sends information to Russia about the certificate of origin. And this information is needed for the customs, for clearance. And the Chamber of Commerce of Russia sends information to the customs of Tajikistan. And then our customs verifies the certificates. So in your diagram, you should also state the same, because the single window of Tajikistan already is engaging 11 agencies. If we receive information, then send it back to customs, that will be an additional step. Our system is built in the following way. If we have this kind of structure, it will be an additional cost for development of an additional service for that. So this is the adjustment. If we may, could you please add it? Apologies, what's your name? Azamat. Single window.
Этот слайд виден, да?
So do you see the slide right now? Yes.
Скажите, что в
Could
этом
you
слайде нужно
please comment
поправить?
again? What should be adjusted here?
Взаимодействие, то, как вы сказали,
The
в принципе,
interaction.
реализуется. То есть есть
So the way you have described is done. Look, as far as I know, the single window in Kazakhstan is a kind of a central database that interfaces all agencies available in Kazakhstan, national agencies and even those that are not connected to foreign trade. So single window of Kazakhstan is a kind of a register or a ledger that sends information to all agencies that request this information. But the single window in Tajikistan only it works a little bit differently. Therefore, if Kazakhstani single window sends us information and we receive it and then send it to the customs service system, it's an additional step. So my recommendation is if the single window of Kazakhstan could send information directly to the system of the customs service of Tajikistan about the certificate of origin, it would be much easier and less costly because the single window system will not have to be changed.
Нарисовано то, что это как единое окно, да, по сути, система единого окна
So
Таджикистана.
we have plotted here the single window of Tajikistan, but for us, it's a kind of an avatar for the customs service. Because the customs service, if I'm not mistaken, is the host of this single service, a single window. But Tajikistan has two systems. Customs has two systems for tariff regulation and non-tariff regulation. Single window is engaged in non-tariff regulation. And they work with the Chamber of Commerce as a single window. It's a unified portal. And there are 11 agencies that work with it. So if there are any changes made there, it will be an additional cost. See, so the idea is that we set a direct link between single window of Kazakhstan and customs of Tajikistan using the model that you have already established with the Russian Federation, where customs services are interacting. But from the point of view of receiving information from the Chamber of Commerce, does customs of Tajikistan get it from the single window, right? Yes. Look. The Chamber of Commerce works within the system of the single window. So the customs service can take this data and send it to Kazakhstan, right? No. We need to check with our colleagues from the customs service. As far as I know, there is one system in place and a new system is being developed. To be sure whether they can receive information from us and then send to an external system, we need to check with them. Wait, Rustam. Just a second. Azamat, could you please say the following? You said that with Russian Federation, you implement a push model where the customs service sends every certificate or sends information on how many certificates to Russian Federation have been issued, or do you receive a request from the Russian customs and then provide certificate information? Our system sends information at the point of issuance of the certificate. As soon as it is permitted, it is sent to the federal customs system of Russia. And the customs receives information from the Chamber of Commerce of Russia. So Chamber
Ага.
of Commerce of
Скажите,
Russia sends information to the customs of
получается,
Tajikistan.
вот вы работаете в едином окне. Это
So
тоже
you work
подразделение, да? Вы сказали, что
within
тарифное регулирование.
single
И
window.
в переговорах
You
с
mentioned
Российской
non-tariff
Федерацией вы не
regulation.
участвовали. Потому что
Were
вы
you a
можете
part
таможенной
of the
службе
negotiations with Russia
в
that you
России
will
давать эти
be
данные?
interacting with the customs of Russia? Yes,
в нашей системе, да.
because the Chamber of Commerce is a
Спасибо.
part of our
Это
system.
важно. Очень спасибо. Очень
Yes, thank you. This is
ценный
very
комментарий.
important. This is a very
Рустам, вы
valuable
хотели что-то
comment.
добавить?
Rustam, you wanted to
Да,
add
я хотел
something.
сказать, что
Yes, I would like to say that.
то, что представитель единого окна сказал, это верно, но
What Azamat said is correct, but according to the recently adopted program of electronic trade, all permission documents must be transferred via the single window. We are the CPTA parties, and it actually emphasizes the exchange of information by a single window. Therefore, this pattern was suggested to leverage the potential of the single window. Your systems that you described is purely a technical thing. So everything can be done via the single window. According to the newly adopted document, it was adopted just in the end of this March. And it stipulates that permission documents cross-border exchange must
Рустам,
be
за комментарий. У нас есть на перехват
effected via
Насима.
the single window. We have a hand from Nasim.
Нам сейчас-
Здравствуйте,
Вы из
уважаемые
торговой
коллеги.
промышленной палаты, да?
Greetings, dear colleagues. You're the Chamber of Commerce, right?
Анваров Насим, первый заместитель председателя.
Nasim Anvarov,
торгово-промышленного
first deputy chair
Таджикистана.
of the Chamber of Commerce of
Прежде всего,
Tajikistan.
хотелось бы поблагодарить
First of
всех
all,
организаторов данного пилотного
I would
проекта,
like to
который
express gratitude to all of the organizers of this pilot project. You, Alexei, as international consultant and national consultant, Mr. Abdusalamov. Thank you for this great presentation.
Все хорошо отметили.
This
По поводу
is a really
данного проекта,
in-depth study. As for the project, the Chamber of Commerce
очень хочет
is deeply interested
вовлеченным в данный процесс, потому
in
что
being involved in this project. In this process, we have the single window, we have electronic exchange within the country.
и со стороны таможни делается
Both the single window and the customs cooperate with other ministries and agencies to ensure that this document exchange becomes electronic with other countries, which makes it easier for the businesses. We are fully supportive of such processes. Whatever is required of us, we are ready to do. We're ready to cooperate. Special thanks goes to you and Rustam Abdusalamov. We previously worked with you on the facilitation of trade and facilitation of documents and procedures. As of now, there is only one document that is required. It's an application via the single window. It minimizes for the businesses all of the red tape. As for Azamat's statement, I think that your slide 31 is actually correct. There is no step that is not needed. We are a part of single window as a Chamber of Commerce. We have our module there. We are an issuing organization and we were put on the slide separately. However, we are a part of the single window. And you have shown it in your scheme. Everything is quite simple. And if this project is implemented and we will establish electronic exchange of certificates of origin between two countries, this would be really great. This is my comment. Thank you. Thank you, Nasim, for your feedback. This is really valuable. Thank you for supporting this project. I have huge experience in the region, and not all of the chambers of commerce are so open to cooperation, because there are concerns about possible loss of clientele, lack of direct contact, and so on. Therefore, I'm happy to hear that you support this project. In general, any digitalization or an agency chair
прозрачно увидеть все процессы
is
в
helpful in
ведомстве.
terms of
И
making all
также,
processes in
если
the
это все
agency
происходит в электронной
transparent.
форме, то вы
If
можете
it all
увидеть
takes place
по срокам,
electronically,
когда
you can
поступила
also
заявка, когда было
see
принято
the time
решение, когда
frames, when the
информация
application was
была
obtained, when the decision was taken, when the
передана
information was
трейдеру, да, для
transferred
того, чтобы он
to
мог
the
использовать
trader
этот сертификат.
for them
А
to be able
дальше
to use the
то, что у вас
certificate.
сейчас нет, это статистика, сколько документов,
What is
которые вы
missing is
выдали,
the statistics of the
было
documents
использовано
that you
для
have
получения
issued and how
преференций.
many of them
Очень
were
часто
used to
бывают
obtain
случаи, когда страна
preferentials.
необоснованно отказывает в преференциях
Sometimes the country
по различным причинам.
refuses preferentials for
И в
various
Центральной Азии
grounds.
есть, и в других странах.
Happens
И
in
в этих
Central Asia and
случаях
other countries. In this case,
возникает все
there are
время
disputable
запрос,
cases.
выдавалось, не выдавалось, если есть сомнения о том, что
There
выдавалось,
are
в каких
requests
путях
about
и
the
так далее.
issuance,
И
whether the
поэтому
certificate was
ТПП,
issued or
который
not.
занимается выдачей
Therefore, the Chamber
сертификатов,
of
они
Commerce,
вынуждены
that is
отвечать на эти
actually the
запросы,
issuer,
они
they
вынуждены
have
статистику
to
вести.
give
Если вас
replies
спросят
to
о том,
such
насколько
requests.
было,
They have
сколько из
to
количества
have the
документов, которые вы
statistics. So
выдали в
if you're
прошлом
asked
году,
how
было
many of the
реально
documents that you issued
востребовано в
last year
Казахстане для
were
получения
really
преференций, то,
demanded in
скорее всего,
Kazakhstan
вам будет
for
сложно собрать эти
preferentials,
статистики.
I'm sure it would
Реализация
be hard for
данного
you to
проекта
collect the
позволит вам
statistics. The
и в этой
implementation
связи
of this
тоже
project
прозрачность
would
показать,
actually enable
показать свою
you to
работу,
ensure
чтобы вы выгодно получили точки
transparency
зрения, да, того, что
and
те сертификаты, которые вы даете, они реально
elucidate your work,
применяются, и
because
количество
the
отказов в
certificates that you
предоставлении
issue,
преференций
they are
таджикским
really
экспортерам, оно все равно растет.
used, and the number of refusals to Tajik
Конечно,
exporters
конечно.
has gone
Спасибо.
down.
Спасибо.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much.
Коллеги из таможенной службы,
Dear colleagues,
если у вас
from the
информация
customs
по тому проекту,
service,
который реализуется с Российской
do you
Федерацией,
have any
насколько эта
information on
схема
the
уже
project
работает
with
и
Russian
обычно,
Federation?
или
How
настраиваете,
operational
и
is
насколько та
this
схема предложенная
model,
соответствует
or are you
вашим
still
ожиданиям?
fine-tuning it, and does it meet your expectations
День
actually?
добрый, Алексей.
Greetings,
Алексей.
Alexei.
Огромное спасибо
Mr.
за презентацию,
Rustam,
которую вы
thank
сейчас
you so
сделали.
much for the
Как ранее
presentation.
уже упомянули,
As it's been
видно, что была проделана
noted,
колоссальная работа в части
a lot of work has been done
тех рекомендаций, которые вы нам
in
дали.
terms of all of the recommendations that you have
Действительно,
given to
как
us.
подчеркнул наш коллега с
Indeed,
единого окна,
as
у нас в
our
России
colleague from
уже
Single Window
подписаны
noted,
соглашения, и сейчас
we have signed an
ведутся
agreement with
такие
Russia.
технические моменты в части обмена. И
We
хотел
are
сообщить,
working on
что
the
в рамках
technical
тех
details of this
технических условий,
exchange.
которые есть,
As for the technical
непосредственный
specifications and
информационный
technical
обмен
conditions that we have
электронными
today,
документами
the electronic
со
exchange
стороны таджикской стороны будет
of
осуществляться
documents
с
from
помощью центра
Tajikistan
единого окна
will
таможенной
be
службы.
done
То
via
есть
the single window
указано,
of the
что
customs service.
непосредственно это указано в технических условиях,
It is
которые есть у
directly
меня в руках.
stated in the technical
Там
conditions that I have in my
указано, что это
hands.
будет осуществляться через центр
It
единого
actually
окна.
says that it will
В
be done
целом,
via the single
таможенная
window.
служба в последние годы
The customs service
очень
recently has
скажем так,
been
очень повысил свой уровень цифровизации. Это было отмечено
digitalizing
со стороны
very
руководства нашей страны,
profoundly,
что
and it
те
was
усилия,
noted
которые
by
делает таможенная
our
служба,
leadership.
они успешны, и на практике все показывает, что
And
цифровизация
in
бумажной
practice, we can
торговли
see
это
the
тот
results
вектор,
of this
которым
digitalization, and the paperless
должны
trade is
стремиться
the
все
vector that
органы,
we are
которые
pursuing,
вовлечены
and all other
в
agencies
торговле.
must pursue,
Я еще раз
all other
благодарю вас
agencies engaged in
за
trade.
интересную презентацию. Мы в
Thank you
целом
again for this
поддерживаем
informative presentation. We all
которые
support
ведут
all of the
к
steps
безбумажной работе, к
that
безбумажной
lead
торговле
to
и
paperless
цифровизации нашей
trade.
деятельности.
Спасибо. Ну,
Thank you.
собственно, предложение сертификата происхождения для Таджикистана было продиктовано
Certificate
как раз
of
таки уровнем
origin for
готовности
Tajikistan,
Палаты,
why we
потому
proposed it?
что уже оцифрована выдача
Because we have
документов.
seen that the Chamber
Также
of Commerce
тот
is
опыт,
ready,
который
has the
имеется у
digital
таможенной службы
documents.
с Российской Федерацией.
And we have
Российская
also
Федерация
seen
также
that
является
you
членом
cooperate with Russian
соглашения
Federation,
бумажной трансграничной
and they
торговли,
are a
поэтому
member of
и
CPTA as
плюс они
well.
наладили взаимодействие с Азербайджаном. Мы
Plus,
считаем,
they
что
established
данная модель может
interaction
быть
with
предложена
Azerbaijan.
также в случае с
We
Казахстаном.
think this model can be
Поэтому те
proposed in the
технические
case of
условия, которые у вас уже
Kazakhstan. Therefore, the
наработаны,
technical
могут быть
conditions that
основой
you already
политических
have
ожиданий, которые будут
may become the
разрабатываться,
foundation
если
for the
доноры
terms of
поддержат
reference that
проект
we will
или
be
будут
developing
принимать
in
решение
case the
реализации
donors
проекта, то
support this
это будет
project and
очень
you give it a
дополнять
go.
работу и
If you
даст
decide
новый
on the
импульс
project, it
развитию
will
вашей
be
системы.
complementary to the work that is already been done. It will be a great impetus for your system.
Спасибо большое,
Thank you so much.
Раджаб Али.
Rajab Ali.
агентство по инновациям,
Maybe
какой-то
the
обратный
innovation
ответ, потому что
agency
я так
has
вас
something
рекламировал,
to
что
say,
есть
because I've been
команда по
advertising
управлению
you
изменений.
as a
Как вы
change
сейчас
management
работаете, было бы
team.
интересно услышать о
So we would
приоритетных направлениях
love
для вас.
to
Является ли
hear about your
данный проект
priorities, whether this project is in line
интересным
with
для вас?
your interests.
Спасибо большое, Алексей. Меня
Thank you so
слышно?
much, Alexei. I hope
Да.
you hear me. Yes.
Спасибо большое. Я хотел
Thank
поблагодарить
you.
коллеги за
I'd like to thank the
сегодняшней
colleagues,
конференции.
everybody on this
Нам
call.
очень интересны все те направления,
Indeed,
которые касаются и цифровизации,
all
и упрощения
areas
процедур,
related to
в том числе
digitalization and
Казахстан.
trade facilitation and paperless trade are very interesting for us. As Dilshot has noted, our agency is engaged in e-commerce. The agency was established quite recently. We began our operations, full-fledged operations, as an established organization this March. Since March, we have hired several people and still hiring.
Структуру нашего агентства, если вы ознакомитесь,
Our agency, if you look at its organizational chart, we work along two lines, including electronic documents, digital signature, electronic government, innovation activities, transition to digital platforms. The department we work for is the Department for E-commerce Regulation. We have several other internal structures that will support the coordination and policy development and, let's say, digital economy promotion. Trade facilitation has been on the agenda of many countries for years. UN has been working on that actively, the UN family, ESCAP, and UNCPACT. So the implementation of digital platforms for information exchange and trade facilitation, the procedures that are in place will boost the trade turnover between the countries and the facilitation for the businesses in both countries. Since it's a pilot project, I'm sure it will bring good results that we will proudly offer for upscaling across Central Asia. We view Central Asia as our big home, transit region, a trade region. Therefore, digital platforms and procedures will support performance on our goals. I must note, and it's noted in your report as well, that we already have certain information systems or platforms, the customs service, as our colleagues noted, the single window system. We also have an information administration system, so it could be great if such systems are helpful in achieving the goals. Then the customs procedure, the single window is an aggregator of 11 agencies, and there are many procedures that are going through the single window. This is already a good starting point, so that one of the documents that is required for export and import to and from our country can be digitized and exchanged digitally. Indeed, we will need to look intently into our legal framework. I can see that your action plan already has it. We can see what we can do, what we can adjust. In particular, our agency's mandate actually includes the facilitation and preparation of the legal framework of Tajikistan to transition to full-scale digital trade and other digital activities. So trade is one of the locomotives of economy, and I'm sure it is prioritized in terms of digitalization. Therefore, I am convinced that we will be able to very rapidly and very efficiently implement this project and identify and address the bottlenecks. I'm really glad that you have already analyzed the existing systems, the existing legal framework, and that is a great help, great support in our work and the implementation of the digital mechanisms that would help facilitate not only trade, but generally boost the trade turnover and make our country more competitive, more attractive for investment, so that we could develop marketplaces. This is new for Tajikistan, electronic platforms. We would really be glad to have that, and we are planning to closely work on that and cooperate with you in future on any issues related to facilitation or transition to digital technology in the area of trade. Your report states that there is a good foundation, good base for that. The legislations of Kazakhstan and Tajikistan are more or less harmonized. Therefore, I'm sure that this project will be very successful, and I wish all the participants of this project to use and leverage this project to improve the efficiency of the services they provide to both population and business.
Спасибо большое за такую развернутую обратную связь.
Thank you so much for this informative feedback. You have touched upon very important aspects, why this work is so important. In this respect, we are sharing your judgment, and we are ready to support you as the agency that deals with, let's say, horizontal solutions, allowing for automation of various areas, including trade. Most likely, you will be interested in the ESCAP activities under the CPTA. Now I'm talking about the mechanisms of mutual recognition. We have a working group on mutual recognition, and this is where we are discussing and elaborating the approaches that we could use. Because this mechanism can operate at various levels in different ways for cross-border engagement of various agencies, both in terms of phytosanitary and certificate of origins. This could be one mechanism. So for businesses, for public services, I think it would be interesting for you. Another aspect is the methodology. Please pay attention to the structure we used in our approach, how we used UML to write down the business processes, the use case diagram, the activity diagram. It's all thanks to the guideline ESCAP has on the analysis and streamlining of business processes. We conducted this research based on the guidelines and recommendations that ESCATO has in place. There is a need on your side for more information on this. We are ready to share it. You might be interested in that for other areas like e-commerce. You can conduct similar study. Generally, the ESCAP consultant and expert experience shows that streamlining the legislation as of today is impossible without the analysis of business processes and streamlining business processes before you make any amendments. What developed countries do is that they first analyze a project in detailed business processes and write the to-be model. The representatives of two services or departments first coordinate the business process, and only then they work on making amendments to legal framework. The legal councils, the legal specialists look at those schemes, they see what must be changed in this current legislation and only make amendments after the streamlining. In parallel, the technical specialists work, who actually code certain solutions. So you might be interested methodologically in what we have done. Third is the topic, the very topic of certificates of origin. It can be a successful case, a success story that you're probably looking for your portfolio. This could be one of the gems or one of the indicators in case you implement this project with Kazakhstan and then scale it up. It can be one of the success factors for your agency. Therefore, we are looking forward to your feedback, maybe more actions, more events could be conducted with your participation. We have noted your agency in the report. If you agree with that, we will build upon it in implementing the project. And my last comment is on the following way. I've conducted a feasibility study. And since ESCAP doesn't have enough funding for the implementation of such projects, we can see that such projects can be implemented by other partners in the region via either national budgets or public-private partnership. So feasibility study is very helpful in decision-making. Considering that you are so sure about the success of this project, it can be useful in building the case for the donors. You have a comment? Yes. Thank you so much. You were right to mention that we have noticed the methodology you used to describe the situation as is and the to-be model. We would really appreciate a close interaction with ESCAP and UNC to leverage, to build upon the rich experience that your organization has, to analyze and use this methodology in goals. You were right to say that those are actually proven technologies. We would appreciate your cooperation and information sharing. Of course, we can find it on the website, but since you are a subject matter expert, you can guide us on what are the most important things for us to look at. And you're right that we need a success story. On the one hand, for our own fulfillment, but on the other hand, I'm sure it's a successful project potentially because I see and I know people who are working at the ministries and agencies, and I know that they show initiative and they are very result oriented, which actually made it possible for us to introduce the single window and the unified information system. We have the same within our tax administration. These platforms are in place because all people within those agencies are very well aware how important it is to facilitate our procedures, reduce red tape, reduce corruption. Therefore, I'm sure we can cope with this, and I'm sure that we can work with you on that. You were right to say that a proper analysis is a good support for further decision-making and policy writing and implementation. I have your email. I will write back to you. Let us be in contact and move forward
У нас
together.
все сотрудничество в рамках СКАТа с Таджикистаном осуществляется
ESCAP
через
cooperation with
наш
Tajikistan is done via our focal point,
Дильшот
Dilshot.
активно участвует во всех
Dilshot
совещаниях по тематике
takes part in all
трансграничной
of the
торговли.
meetings related to paperless trade.
Также связь держать, чтобы у нас
I think Dilshot can be our
был
contact point in future.
Focal point, и, соответственно, мы с удовольствием
So
посмотрим в рамках тех проектов, которые у нас реализуются,
will work via Dilshot.
можно будет
So
сделать
based on the
тех небольших
funding we have and the projects we have, we will see what we can do within the framework of capacity building to tell you about the ESCAP tools that you could use to work on your objectives. I have a question to Dilshot. We will be able today to send the slides, the presentation, the memo. So when we will be able to collect the written feedback from the agencies? Do comment on that. What is the plan of the ministry?
Дельшот сейчас мне отписался, у них заседание.
Dilshot has written to me that he is at some other meeting at the Intergovernmental Commission, so he apologized and he left. But we will convey your words to him. As for Kazakhstan, they requested 2 weeks for feedback until the end of July. It's possible. Please talk to Dilshot about it, send the information today. I have sent an email to both you and Dilshot about it so that by the end of July we could collect the feedback and work on the finalized version of the report. Thank you, dear colleagues. The initial report was sent to all of the interested ministries and agencies. Based on that, they can already come up with some feedback.
Рустам, мне нужно
Rustam,
письмо, желательно от министерства с
I need a
официальным
letter from the ministry,
направления комментариев по
official
отчету.
letter
Иначе мы не
with the
соберем-
deadline for
иначе мы не
feedback to
соберем
the report.
достаточно.
Otherwise, we will not collect. Yes, I will convey that to Dilshot.
Я просто знаю, как госорганы
I just
работают. То есть даже
know
если мы
how the
направим отчет,
public
официально
bodies
запросим
work.
сроки и так
Even if
далее,
we
у нас
send the
нет
report
вероятности,
request, the
что мы
official
что-то получим
deadline,
в
the
ответ. Поэтому, если у нас это письмо будет, у
probability
нас
of
просто
getting
вероятность
something
больше
back,
того, что мы получим
well,
обратную
it's
связь
only
в письменной
higher
форме,
if we
которая
have an
позволит нам
official letter.
доработать отчет. И мы уже увидели, что даже в рамках одной
We
одной
have already
службы
seen
есть
that even within one
разные
service, there are
информация,
different
как
departments,
какая модель
different
может быть применена.
pieces of
Конечно,
information on
хотелось
the
бы услышать
possible model
какую-то консолидированную
be
позицию
implemented.
о том,
We would
как
like to
модель может
receive a
быть применена
consolidated
для
position
данного
on which model can be
взаимодействия.
used in this
Это наше
interaction.
пожелание.
Да, хорошо, мы это
Okay.
сделаем.
We will do that.
Спасибо большое, коллеги. Мы
Thank you
немножко
so much,
выбились
dear
из графика.
colleagues.
Спасибо
We
большое
are
переводчику за работу.
a little bit
И
over the
будем держать
time
связь.
in
Там
excess of our
контакты
schedule.
есть.
Thank you to the
Пожалуйста.
interpreter. Let's
Ждем
keep in
обратной связи
contact.
по поводу отчета и готовы
We're
потенциально
looking forward
обсуждать
to
уже,
your
помогать
feedback and ready
соответствующим
to
донорам.
discuss that and help
Спасибо
you in
огромное.
finding donors. Thank you so much. Thank you, dear colleagues, for your participation. Thank you.
Счастливо, удачного,
Thank you and
хорошего дня.
goodbye. Good day.